we're going to start with the calves a little bit. We'll start with the lower body and move our way on up. And just a basic rolling routine. You can take the roller, you can go right down by the ankles, whether you're sitting on the ground, hard ground, or a mat, doesn't really matter. And then I'm just going to go side to side. So really to start off rolling, again, just as a review, what you're trying to do is just to look for any tight spots or areas. And as I'm kind of going back and forth, I'm just going to kind of inch the roller in a little bit closer or up the calf. Yeah, and so like I said, you're just looking for any tight areas. So it's kind of like you're taking like an analysis of the muscles, the tissue. You're scanning, seeing where any tightness is, if there is anything. And as I'm going back and forth, I'm also you can see that I'm slowly working my way up the calf. So it's just going back and forth. And I'm really just trying to look for those tight areas. And once I find one, then I'll spend a little bit of time on it. But currently I'm good. I know that I was feeling a little bit on the top of the calf the other night, so I think that it might be a little sensitive area, but so far it feels fine. I just find that rolling side to side and then slowly kind of inching the way up the calf is a good way to do that little scan, that body scan. And yeah, it feels all right, actually. It's good. Not bad. Okay, so now if you lift your bum or slide a little bit, you can kind of go up and down lengthwise on the roller. It's just a different way to feel it, or to roll across the skin, kind of like a rolling pin. Kind of give those calves a nice little massage. And when you're on the calves, sometimes when you roll over right onto the side, you might really feel a tight spot in there. There might even be a little bit of a ridge if you kind of roll from side to side. That might happen for some, maybe not. And then the same on the inside. If you roll that medial portion of the of the calf, that can be a little bit tight, as mine are right there. Ooh. So I don't really feel a knot, but I do feel it's just sensitive or tender. And I know if I think about my training from earlier in the week, I'm pretty sure it was just from the load or the amount of volume of running I've been doing. Yeah, and that side's not too bad. Okay. So for myself, calves are good. I know that. I'm going to roll up onto the hamstrings. So going into the hamstrings, started just above the knee, or the back of the knee. And then I'm rolling right up into the center part of the hamstring. Usually when you do both, as you're moving up and down, there's so much pressure distributed across the roller that it's not real intense. And it might feel like, I'm really not feeling much in there. And if that's the case, you can always go to one leg. And you're kind of I'm lifting my body with my hand back there. And then I'm just leaning all of my weight on the one hamstring. And this, you might feel it a little bit more. Of course, right now I'm rolling to the inside a little bit, just to feel if there's anything different in there. And then likewise, you can roll on the outside, back to the inside. Okay, that one feels pretty good, so I'm going to switch over to the opposite leg. And then the same thing here. Just going back and forth. The rolling really is, it's personal. It's like What are you feeling? I might be going too fast for somebody that's really, really sore, or somebody that's got quite a bit of knots somewhere in their muscles. I know there's been days where I could spend a half hour or more just on the calf because it's really hurting. So this isn't too bad actually. Feels okay, and just because I know I've got some sensitive areas on the high hamstring on that side, I'm just trying to be a little bit cautious of that because I don't want to aggravate it more. I'll use the smaller ball to really hit the high hamstring area, which is kind of more so on the inner thigh. It's kind of right at the top of where your sit bone is. So it's right on the sit bone area. You can kind of feel that. And the high hamstring is right in there. So sometimes just sitting on the ball is a good way to massage out and separate the muscles a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go on to the quads. So I'm just flipping over. Now, leaning on your elbows is one way to do this. And just rolling back and forth, starting kind of down by the knee and rolling up to the mid part of the quad. And again, just going back and forth. This isn't too bad at all. Again, kind of go from side. So lean over to the one side of that quad. When you roll onto the edge of it, it might feel a lot more sensitive. Good, it's not too bad, I guess, personally. And then I'll go over to the other side. Of course, you can always put all the pressure on one leg, just supporting yourself with your other hand, and leg, so you can kind of move freely up and down. Okay, so I'm just going to move my mic transmitter a little bit. And we're going to move on to the top portion of the quad, which is called your TFL. So if you're at home, you're wondering where this is, you can have your iliac crest if you feel that. It's the hard part of your hip just in front. And then just down onto your quad or to your leg, you're going to feel, that tissue right in there. You might feel the tendon or the ligament. It's the tendons that are coming off the top of the iliac crest. And then just kind of laterally to that, to the outside, is your TFL. So that's kind of the area that we're going to be hitting right here. And laying on there, you're kind of just below the iliac crest, going on to the quad. You'd want to really try to stay off the tendon, but it might feel like it's a little tender or sensitive when you do roll on the tendon. And of course, it's not going to feel comfortable if you're on the bone. Ooh. So sometimes like this right here for me, this is pretty sensitive. You just want to try to relax your breathing as you're going through that, which sometimes is challenging to do. The other thing too, if you are rolling, you want to try not to grimace or strain your face. Really, when it feels like it, it's like, oh my goodness, that really hurts. Lots of time you'll squint or you kind of wrinkle up the face and you're feeling that pain, but you really want to relax. You want to try to breathe through it, relax. Okay, definitely feeling that. Okay, so to hit the medial portion of the quad, laying here on that other side, and you can just roll your knee or that portion of the quad just over it if you want. That's a pretty gentle way to do it, or you can do a single leg as well. So since we did that right side, I'm going to roll just onto the left top of the quad, or the TFL. There we go. Good. So again, if you need to take more time on a certain area and you're watching this at home or at a different time, please feel free to take all the time you need. If you're kind of wondering about that in terms of how much time should I spend rolling, well, I guess the best way to answer that is if you can, try to do it more frequently than not. And that's if you're feeling some tight spots for sure. And try to massage those areas out. And that's what the foam roller is going to help you with. In terms of duration for a single session, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or even up to half hour, 45, it's really up to you. It's what time you have and what you can fit in your day. Okay, got that. Okay, so that's that area. And now we're going to move on to the top part of the glutes. So again, I'm just laying down. Got to move that again. Sorry about that. Okay. So laying on our back. Again, I'm going to rest down on that elbow. And I'm rolling on to the top portion of the the glutes. So if you roll way down, you're going to feel your pelvis. Or you're going to be rolling right onto the bone. And then we're going to roll just up that way a little bit. So you're onto the glute, the top portion of the glute. You can kind of go from side to side. You can roll up and down. Yeah, in terms of rolling, it's more ideal, or if you can fit it in your day and week on a regular basis, if you did it, 5 minutes before your workout, and you worked out 3-4 times a week, that's perfect. If you can do it in the evening before going to bed, maybe relaxing on the floor, doing a little rolling, then some stretching, and it helps to relax your body, naturally putting you in the state of sleepiness or going to bed, falling asleep. So right now I'm just rolling that glute medius. So it's just up and down on that top portion. One way that you can find out whether or not that's a tight area, if your leg is there just hanging in the air, you can bring that leg or the knee up. As it really bring that up there, it's like, ooh, that area is got some pressure on it. You're contracting that muscle. If you're squeezing it, let it relax, kind of roll back and forth. And then I'm going to go up into this sitting position somewhat and resting on your arm. Sometimes just the weight of holding your body off the ground can be fatiguing. I know I've been there, and having a step, like a step bench, or being next to the first stair on a set of stairs, that can help as well. And it's a little bit higher, maybe not as much pressure on the shoulders or on the wrist. Okay, so now I'm just rolling back and forth a little bit on the glute. Going more into a seated position on it. And just rolling around a little bit. Not too fast. Trying to figure out where you can feel some sensitive areas. Okay. Now, I'm doing right on that. Didn't really feel much. I know I'm doing good because I've been doing quite a bit of rolling the last couple of nights. So it's all good actually on mine. So if you do this, you're in this position. Sometimes getting to here is challenging too. So legs are down. Let's bring one ankle up to the opposite knee. goes into that figure 4 or piriformis stretch. And then I'm rolling my body over onto that glute, the side of it. So the left cheek is kind of off the mat or off the roller. And I don't want to like sit way back. I want to keep myself a little bit more upright. So the essence is, if I were to be in that stretch, I'm sitting like this, so my body is actually a little bit more of a neutral spine, and I'm not kind of laid back. And it's just to get a bigger stretch on that glute medius and the piriformis. So just again, rolling back and forth. If you're sensitive in this area, or maybe you've had some gosh, just skipped my mind. You've been feeling some low back pain or sciatica. There we go. Maybe you feel some sciatica pain or tingling, kind of going down the leg, feel it in the hip, into the toes maybe. This might be a real sensitive area for you. Okay, so that one feels pretty good for myself. I'm just going to switch to the opposite side. Again, I'll roll right down onto the back. So we're in that top section of the glute. Laying there, going up and down. Feels really good, actually. I'll admit, when you roll regularly, the tissues are nice and supple. They're pliable. Rolling feels good. You're stretching, the movement, your mobility, it'll all feel a little bit more natural or pain-free, less resistance, which I think is something that we all kind of would like to have. I don't feel I'm alone on that. Good, just rolling back and forth. Again, if you want to be in this position and bring that knee in, flexing the hip, extend the leg out, knee back in, right back out there. That might intensify, might not. Just going side to side a little bit. Now, if you did a really hard leg workout, then rolling that night or the next day is definitely going to be a little more difficult or challenging, for sure. Okay, so now I'm just going up into the seated position, leaning back on that arm, kind of going through a full range here, up and down the glute. Still over on that side a bit, so this cheek is not riding on the roller at all. And if you roll enough, or you've done it quite a bit, you'll know the certain areas where you can feel there's tightness in the muscle, or it's a challenging spot for you, or you know that, yeah, there's some knots in there, and I really got to work that out. And then sometimes you might wonder, like, how come the muscle almost feels like I'm rolling over something? And sometimes, like if you're on the glutes, like right here, it's just the muscle getting kind of pinched between your sit bones on the pelvis. Okay, so again, knee up to the ankle, or ankle to the knee. Going back and forth. Again, this side is off of the roller, so I'm leaning over on that left glute. Back and forth. I've gone through the calves, the hamstrings, the quad, now into the glutes. Once we get down here, I'm going to do the front of the shin. So it's your anterior tibialis. Most of the time, it's not too bad for people in that area. And then we'll do a little bit on the back. Okay, so that's good. Time-wise, we're doing good too. Okay, So to roll the shins, you're on the roller. You can just put your hands out in front of you and then rolling from front to back, however you like. I'll show you that from the side as well. So just going on to there, kneeling on the roller, hands are in front of you, just rolling forward. You know, just a few times forward and back on these is good. Just be careful of how firm your roller is and how much pressure you want to put on that shin bone. Just kind of going up and down. Try to get the fluid to move through the muscle and those tissues. Okay, perfect. All right, next one. So laying down. Okay, sitting on the ground. And then really, we're going to lay back on the roller. So if you're laying like so, your shoulder blade should be just on the edge of the roller, okay? So if you can move those shoulder blades around a little bit, you can feel them there. And then you're going to be able to just arch your back over, let the head drop back. Let's come up to here. All right, so if you're propped up, you're on the roller. I want you to not totally arch your low back. I want you to be in this kind of leaning incline position. Keep the torso or the pelvis stationary. So let's kind of do a little bit of a slight contraction or engagement in the abs. Let's bring our arms up and keeping the core engaged, your pelvis in that neutral spot. We'll go ahead and just lean the upper rib cage back and get as much extension as you can. So laying back. Let's come up out of that one. Good. And then back again, keeping the pelvis in neutral, low back in neutral, and then arching back through the upper rib cage or the thoracic rib cage. Good. Oh. All right. So if you're doing that and you find, it's just too much pressure on my neck, kind of hurts along there, you can support your head, wrapping your fingers, interlacing them around the back of your neck, and then doing the same thing, just keeping your head from leaning back or flexing all the way back. Extending all the way back. And then same thing with the rib cage. You're trying to let the rib cage or that mid back just curve over the roller. And then coming right back up. All right. So I just want to show you how to support the head. If you're in that position, interlace your fingers. You've got your thumbs down here on those traps, the pinkies up on the base of the skull, and that way you're fully supported in this position. Your head's not going to go back further. Okay? All right. So let's move on to a little bit of the upper back as well. Okay. So if you're on that position, you're in that incline, we're going to go ahead and lift our bum up off the ground, and you're rolling just onto the kind of that mid upper back or just above the shoulder blades. So right here, I'd be on the shoulder blade, and then I'm rolling up a little higher. Sometimes when you put your arms out to the side, you might have them here or in front of you. You're going to feel that slightly different. And you really just want to localize it just around the shoulder blades. Okay? Not too far up onto the neck without any other support. Almost there, and that's good. Okay, perfect. All right, so in terms of a typical routine for legs to upper back, I would do that on a basic nightly routine. For myself, I've done that for years and years, and it's done. It really, really helps. There's more areas you can get into. Of course, the lats, the shoulders, the pec, especially if you've got some neck issues. And then it's getting into the small balls as well. I will show you one on the front of the chest or the shoulder. right in here. It just helps with kind of the rounded shoulder posture. So many of us that, whether we're driving, sitting, eating, you're relaxing in a couch or a chair, you get that rounded shoulder position. And so you really want to lengthen the muscles that are in the anterior side or the front part here. And so to do that, you want to first, let's roll them out and let's go through some range of motion, and let's do it like so. So laying down, if you're laying down on the ground, the roller is kind of going through here at about a, I don't know, 45-degree angle or so. Bring it up a little bit so it's not going to kind of be close to your chin, but your chest and shoulder are resting just on the roller a little bit. And then you can kind of move from side to side a little, okay? And it should feel more like your chest that connects right on into the shoulder area is right on the roller. That might be very sensitive for some, depending on how tight you are there. Just kind of going side to side a bit. And then just laying here, if our arm is there, I want you to take that arm and come back. And then let's sweep it forward. So just going across the ground lightly, just gently. Coming up. And I'm going to lower back down again. So sweeping back. And you might really feel some tension or tightness in there when you do that. Good. One more time. And then rolling, I'm just going side to side a little bit, going right out to the edge of that shoulder. Okay. Now I'm going to switch over to the opposite side. So I'll just kind of move for you guys. All right, so again, if I'm there, and can be back at a little bit of an angle. I'm going side to side a little bit here. You'll feel slightly different having the arm back here going side to side, or versus having the arm up higher or in front of you. Okay, so trying it both ways is good, just because you want to be able to experience and see what it feels like throughout that range of motion. And you're really, again, looking for some tight tissues. And then I'm just going to go through that sweeping motion. Ooh. Ooh. That one's definitely sore. Now, the soreness that I'm feeling, I know that's not necessarily, but that's something that's always there. This is more so from my workout the other day, and possibly even just this morning. Because I know my chest is quite sore from doing a bunch of push-ups, a bunch of chest exercises. Definitely can feel that though. The roller is going to be a whole lot more comfortable than using the ball. When you put the ball in that same zone, that's going to be a whole lot more pinpointed pressure. So just prepare yourself if you're using the ball or when you make the transition. Okay. All right. So that's it with the roller. Again, we just did the basic stuff going through the lower body up into the back, and then upper back to chest. And yeah, probably not going to go into the lats. You can, but we'll save that for a different time. And if you want to be more intense on some of these movements, you can use the ball. If you're on the ground or or up against the wall using the little ball. I'll just briefly go into it. If you're laying down, taking the little ball, placing it, if you just place it under your traps like so, and you move a little bit on there, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel, okay, yeah, there's some tight spots. The smaller ball, when you're working the top of the trap, it gets difficult because you're going to have to start to lift your body up to put enough pressure down on the ball and in the trap area. So the different sizes of these yoga tune-up balls, the medium size one is probably the best bet, or even going on to the larger one, but that medium size one is perfect. And then you can just move around how you feel, side to side, up and down a little bit, reposition the ball as needed. And that's the way to get the upper back. Okay, so one of the real more important areas though is the QL. And the QL, I'll just show you where that's at. So if you're standing and you're kind of palpating your body back here, you can feel where your rib cage comes down and where those last ribs are. And then the same thing, feel your hips, feel where the hip bones are. And then between where the hip bone is and the last rib, kind of right in there, that soft spot, it's just off of the erector spinae, which is the muscles on the side of the spine, just going out from that, kind of that soft spot there, where someone would kind of like get you in the kidney. That's going to be your QL. So that's where we want the ball when we're laying down here. So if you're laying down, rolling just over to the side a little bit, put the ball right under there or in that zone. And then if you're laying on it flat, there's probably not a lot of pressure on it because your body's not going to be completely laying on it or putting full pressure. So I want you just to lean your body or tilt your body over to that side. So you've got a little bit more direct pressure right on it. And then just kind of sway back and forth a little bit. You're just giving a little massage in there. And you could always have your leg lower to see how that feels. You can always you can lift your pelvis a little bit and it'll put a little bit more pressure on the ball. Again, you're just trying to search to see what tissue in that zone is sensitive. And right now, all I'm doing is I'm just going into the area, slightly moving the ball, just a little bit. Just a small adjustment. And then same thing, rolling over to the side. And then I'll just slightly adjust it again. And the slight adjustments, you can move it down, so closer to your pelvis, or up closer to your rib cage. You can move it in towards the spine, or out towards the side of your body. The reason why we're hitting the QL is most of the time when people are experiencing low back pain or tightness, or you just have this tension in the low back, that tension that you're experiencing will also radiate into the surrounding tissues. All right, so that's personally for myself, that side feels fine. I'm just going to move over to the opposite side. So I'm putting the ball back in that same zone, right in the QL on the left side. And again, I'm going to roll over onto that one. Yeah, like I was saying, the discomfort, the tension, it'll start to radiate into other areas or the surrounding muscle groups. And if you're thinking about the low back, maybe there's some stress in there from the way you've been sitting, standing too long, just maybe you're carrying something or lifted somebody, depending on what your job is. And you just have this like, oh, my low back, it aches, or it's painful, or it's just, oh, I feel so tired. And the surrounding areas would be your glutes. So the tops of the glutes, the glute medius, glute minimus, the QL, which is right on where we're at right now, the erector spinae, which is the muscles that go up and down the back from the low back all the way up into the upper back. And as well, your pelvic floor, your diaphragm, the full array of abdominal muscles, transverse abdominis. All those areas can actually get a low-grade tension and referred pain as well. But the QL is typically where it's going to centralize. So 2 spots for the low back pain is the QL. You release the tension in there, and all of a sudden it just feels like, oh, everything else calms down and releases, and you'll get this nice sense of relaxation. Okay, so also laying down here, if the QL is done, you can also just check the top of the glutes. So I know we did a little bit of rolling there, but we're going to put the ball down on there as well. So again, it's just the top meaty portion of the glutes, not on the pelvis, and then you're just laying on it, or you lift your hips up off the floor and you're just kind of rolling back and forth, side to side. It's just a little hip waggle where you're trying to use your own pressure against the ball to see where that needs a little massage. And again, the leg can be down or up. It's just like when you're laying on the roller, and we did that, where you bring the knee up and leg down. You can experience that same thing. Might be a lot more intense though. If you were feeling pressure on the roller, this will really intensify it. And then I'm just going to switch to the opposite side. Now, if you're really feeling some tension in the QL or even the top of the glute here and doing this, the speed that I'm going through this might be a little too fast. You might really have to slow it down. You know, you might have to take 10, 15 minutes in those areas for sure. And that's perfectly fine. But if you're noticing something just while watching this video or practicing right now, you can, make note and then think, okay, I've got to go back to that later tonight, a little bit tomorrow, or the next few days. All right. So again, that's a good spot to stop. You can always go on to do more. So in a basic routine, what we did there is a very, very good maintenance routine to go through rolling. And I'm going to hit one more zone, which is right on those spots I was already talking about, the 2 columns of muscles that run up and down your spine on either side. We're going to put the ball right on one of those. So to do so, you can use the 1 ball, or you can use 2, which are usually paired up in a sock, or even the 2 balls that are connected together. So right now I'm on the 1. I've got my hips lifted off the ground, so I can really put the pressure right on the ball. And using your legs to hold yourself up, you can allow the amount of pressure on the ball that you want. And then I'm just going side to side a little bit. It's almost as if I'm just rolling right over the ball. So if this is the muscle on my back and this is the ball, I'm just going from side to side a little bit. Just giving it a little bit of a massage, almost as if someone was putting the heel of their hand or their thumb, and you're just going side to side. And then I'm slowly going from the low, or right next to the pelvis, and working my way up the spine, or up that muscle. Often, if you've had some low back tension or pain in there a while, it's late in the week, maybe the stress of work, as soon as you get up into that bottom of the rib cage zone, you might really feel some tension in there, or those muscles might feel uncomfortable as you start doing this. And I'd say if your QL is sensitive, this mid-back zone the low to mid back zone of the erector spinae will definitely be a sensitive spot as well. So I can feel that quite a bit right there. And I'm about just under mid back. And I know later tonight I'll definitely have to spend some time on that. Okay. Okay, that one was a little sensitive for me. Okay, so I'm just switching to the opposite side. That's the way it is. You're going to find some areas. Those are just areas that want more attention. You know, say you got a massage and you're like, oh, I just wish somebody would do that for me every week. Well, here you go. Here's your own massage. That's why it's called self-myofascial release. You are doing it, helping yourself. And really, if you doing this on a regular basis, it's going to help those tissues, of course. But inevitably, and I say inevitably because many of us, if not all, at some point will experience maybe a little muscle pull or sprained muscle or something in the low back, the mid back, maybe even up in the upper traps. And you just moved wrong, you lifted something, you tried to pick up a pencil off the ground, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, my back. And you get this severe shooting pain, and you're not really sure about what to do. And you go home, you think, oh, I need a Robaxacet or a couple Advil, and it's all going to be better. Okay, I'll get back to that in a minute. So done with the ball, done with the rolling. I'm just going to bring my mat over, and to finish this sequence off, so we've done a little bit of rolling. Now I'm just going to go into a few stretches, which are going to help those areas as well. So since we're on the ground already, laying here. Okay, so one knee up, and then I'm just going to bring it across center line of the body. So if I'm laying, if you're laying or seeing me there, this leg just coming off the ground, and I'm trying to keep the hip down on the mat, but I'm just bringing the knee across center line of my body. Again, this may not be a big stretch for a lot of people, but if you had a low back spasm, pulled something back there, this will be enough. It's going to stretch the glute to where you need it. And if you're not feeling it much right now, then just use it as a just a maintenance movement. Yeah, you can feel like, yeah, you're getting something out of it. So then we'll just switch to the opposite side again. If you're in line, knee is just coming across center line of the body. I'll go to the sides. There you go. Trying to keep that hip down. Okay, and then let's bring that knee in towards the elbow or towards the armpit. And these stretches here on the hip and leg are just to get some movement in those muscles. You roll the glutes, you roll the mid back a little, the lower back, and we just want to get some mobility and extra movement in there as well. So you can see I'm just kind of moving that leg around a bit. I'm going to switch sides, bring that opposite knee up, same thing. Now, like I was saying, if you've got that little back spasm or that twinge, or you pulled something down there and you're freaking out, you go home, you think, oh, I just need to lay down, and you're afraid to move or walk, you're afraid to lift something, you're walking around real gingerly, not sure, or you're really apprehensive about moving, sitting down the toilet, putting a pair of pants on or a shirt, all that movement that was just normal just seems difficult or challenging to do. And it's the fear of injuring it more that comes into play, and you don't want to do anything. And you think, oh, I need to get a massage, but you go to a massage and it helps a little bit, but it doesn't relieve it enough. Maybe you get some acupuncture, it does the same thing. It's like, it helped a little, but I don't really know. And you're just like, oh, I guess I need more Advil. This just needs to go away. You try to sleep, you wake up the next morning, and then you're more stiff. Okay, so next leg, just a hamstring stretch. And so the process of what we've just done is a way to give you a tool to alleviate and to help yourself in those situations where you've done something to your back. And I guarantee that if you did what we just did, you're going to feel 100% better within 20, 30 minutes. It's a way to just get immediate relief from doing something that'll really limit your range of motion. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do here is just going to do a little bit of nerve gliding or nerve flossing. So your head is coming up as the knee goes or the foot goes down. And then as you're lifting the toe, your head goes back. As your foot comes down, your chin tucks. Head goes back as the knee lifts up. Down, one more. Right there, good. All right, so we're going to switch legs. Hamstring stretch on that other side. So leg is straight up. Holding that there. And part of when you injure yourself or, the injury just happens, freak movement, when you don't really have a tool or know what to do, that fear can really set in. And so the next time that you do it, you're experiencing the same thing and your nervous system is activated, almost the exact same. And every time that you fear moving and you feel a slight little twinge, your nervous system feels the same response, whether it's super intense or not. The experience what you feel, your nervous system will engage fully. Okay, so we're going to do that nerve gliding again. So if you're laying there, let's bring the chin down as the foot drops. As the foot goes up, let's go ahead and extend back up. Let's come down, right back up, down, back up. All right, so next one, we're just going to bring the knee over the torso. We're rolling from one side to the other, bringing that knee across the body, trying to get as much rotation as you can. You might be able to bring your knee all the way down to the floor, which is great. If you're in a bit of pain, then sometimes having some support underneath your leg here, and then just letting the weight of your leg rest on that support really will help. Okay. And then back to there, and then we'll switch sides to the opposite. So same thing here on this leg. If your knee can come down, you can get full rotation throughout the spine or the back. That's perfect. All right, coming back to here. And then we're going to go into a piriformis stretch. So knee and ankle coming together, you're reaching through, and you're going to pull that in towards your chest. There's many ways to do this stretch. This one on the ground. If you can be in this position, perfect. If it's too challenging to kind of reach through, then sometimes putting a strap or a towel or a belt around your foot and pulling that in will work. Or you can also be in this position, just let your foot rest up against the wall and kind of scoot your bum closer to the wall. This is also, we'll switch sides here. This is also a great stretch to do in the middle of the day if you're sitting in your chair or if you're sitting at the dinner table. Sitting at a computer, a desk, you know, it's easy to sit there for hours. Hours go by real quickly. You know, if you bring that foot up or the ankle up onto the knee, you're basically in this position, sitting, and just do a little stretch, you know, 20 seconds, a couple of times throughout the day. It's going to help. Trying to do what you can, what you remember to do. All right, and letting that go down. And then let's just do a little tiny sway of the legs from side to side. So just going from one side feels fine, other side. You're just kind of testing and feeling how that feels on your back and hips. Feels great. Perfect. All right, that is it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on the replay, and you have any comments, let me know. I'll be happy to assist in any other way, any other rolling videos. And yeah, hope you have a great day. And this gives you some tools to help with your either the tight tissues or the next time you hurt your back. Okay. All right. Have a great one.